Welcome to the Sales Lab. So what are the actual items that you're selling as part of all of that?
Good question. So it all starts with a mapping system. These are expensive pieces of equipment. They're essentially big computers that are about that size, and they connect all the catheters into this mapping system, and it does all the processing of the information that it's collecting from that heart. So the mapping system is the first thing that gets sold to the hospital. And then to make these procedures work, we need catheters that are going to be in the patient's heart. So each time you do a procedure, you're not going to use the same catheter that was in somebody else's heart. You're going to open up a new catheter, a new mapping catheter, a new ablation catheter. So the initial sale is selling the mapping system, but the real income is from making sure that this physician wants to keep using that mapping system and opening up those disposable catheters.
Okay. That's good to know. And why would a doctor want to use this mapping system? And I guess what I mean is, I guess superficially, or maybe the simple answer is, the doctor would be interested in, something that helps him or her do better with their patients. But I'm guessing there's more to it than that. We can maybe say, yes, that's probably true in most cases, hopefully. But there are probably some other, are there specific problems that your system is able to fix that the doctor might be running into?
That's a great and very complex question. So yes, there's a lot of factors that influence the doctor's decision to use a mapping system. And in a lot of med devices, it doesn't really matter for the doctor whether he uses one device or another device. It's kind of apples to apples where they all feel the same pretty much. In mapping, they have spent years of training on a single or a couple of mapping systems, and they got very comfortable with that. The catheters have completely different shapes. They move in completely different ways. What you're seeing on your screen, the information is presented to you in very different ways. Now, the level of how complex these mapping catheters might be can vary. Like, for example, Boston Scientific's mapping catheter is a very, very complex high-density catheter. So you can create the most elaborate maps that pick up the tiniest microfractionated signals, extremely low noise floor, can collect data very quickly. But it might be overkill in a lot of applications. And the level of comfort that a physician might have with a much simpler catheter could influence his decision to choose that mapping system. He's used to this maybe less complex mapping catheter, but he can get it wherever he wants, as quick as he wants, and he's very comfortable with looking at what the mapping system is presenting to him. So he fully understands this. Now, he might have some benefits from switching to our mapping system, but it's going to take some level of commitment for him to spend a couple of months relearning techniques on how to use a specific catheter.
Okay. And then so what would the benefits that he or she gets be?
Yeah, so the long-term benefits is the ability to maybe be a little more accurate in your complex procedures. If sometimes that tiny little micro signal that might be 0.05 millivolts can be the difference in understanding a circuit and not understanding a circuit. One mapping catheter can be put there and show absolutely no signals, and we say, this area is torched, we don't need to touch it. Whereas you bring in a more complex mapping catheter, and you can see those really, really tiny signals that you're like, you know what, this is the entire issue that we're having in this chamber.